Stop reading for a second. Check your jaw right now. Is it clenched? What about your shoulders? Are they creeping up toward your ears? Your brain cannot tell the difference between a predator in the woods and a political notification on your lock screen. Both trigger the same biological alarm system, flooding your body with cortisol and adrenaline. This is called a physiological hijack. If you checked the news this morning and felt your chest tighten before you even read a headline, you're experiencing it right now. Most people think anxiety starts in the mind, but there's a specific physical audit your nervous system performs every morning. If you recognize this one sensation, your body has already decided you're in danger before you've even read a word. Here's sign number 1. Your body keeps the score. Your body knows before your mind admits it. You check the news first thing in the morning, and within seconds, your heart rate spikes. Your breathing gets shallow. That tension headache you can't shake, it arrives right on schedule, usually around the time you open social media. This is your nervous system stuck in high alert mode. When you consume political content that feels threatening, your body releases the same stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, that flood your system when facing actual physical danger. Your body doesn't distinguish between a tiger in the room and a disturbing headline on your screen. The consequence? When you're checking news multiple times a day, every single day, your nervous system never gets a chance to reset. You're living in a state of chronic threat, even when you're physically safe in your own home. Try this right now. Take one slow breath in for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, then exhale for 6 counts. Notice how your chest feels different after just one breath. That's your nervous system beginning to reset. This is proof that you can interrupt the stress response, even when the headlines haven't changed. Here's what just happened. You found the remote control. Once you recognize these physical signals, you stop being a victim of the news cycle and start being the manager of your own nervous system. The headlines don't change, but your response to them can. Pay attention to what happens in your body when you engage with political content. Does your chest feel tight? Are your hands trembling slightly? Is your jaw clenched? These aren't random sensations. They're your body keeping score of stress you might be trying to rationalize away. There's a reason you can't look away, and it's not a lack of willpower. It's because the technology in your pocket has found a specific biological backdoor into your brain. Once you see how it's being used, you'll never look at your feed the same way. Sign number 2 is the trap you didn't know was set for you. Sign 2, the doomscroll trap. You tell yourself you'll just check for 5 minutes. Just a quick scroll to see what's happening. Then you look up and an hour has vanished. Or 2 hours. Or you've lost track entirely because the algorithm keeps feeding you one more outrage, one more crisis, one more reason to keep clicking. This isn't an accident. Social media platforms are designed to keep you engaged, and they've learned that outrage works better than almost anything else. Each time you click on a political post that makes your blood pressure rise, the algorithm notes your engagement and serves you more of the same. You're caught in a feedback loop where the content gets more extreme. Your anxiety increases, and yet you keep scrolling, searching for something. Relief, maybe, or answers, or just a sense that you've finally seen enough to understand what's happening. It's 11 p.m. You're in bed, ready to sleep. One breaking headline appears on your lock screen. 90 minutes later, you're 3 layers deep in comment sections, reading strangers argue about policies you can't control. Your heart is racing, your sleep is gone, and you don't feel any more informed than you did at 11 p.m. The cruel irony, the more political content you consume, the less informed you actually feel. Instead of clarity, you get confusion. Instead of relief, more anxiety. If you've promised yourself you'd only check the news briefly, but consistently lose hours to it, that's not a lack of willpower. That's a sign that political content has become compulsive, not informative. Sign 3, relationships become battlegrounds. Every conversation somehow circles back to politics. You're at dinner with family, and within 3 sentences, you're mentally categorizing them based on a political opinion they mentioned 6 months ago. You've started dividing people into safe and unsafe based on their views. Family gatherings fill you with dread now. Before you even arrive, you're mentally rehearsing arguments, preparing counterpoints to things that haven't been said, planning exit strategies for conversations that haven't happened. You're exhausted before you walk through the door. You've lost the ability to just be with people without evaluating their political positions. Even with friends who agree with you, there's underlying tension. Are they concerned enough? Do they understand how serious this is? You're avoiding certain people entirely, not because they've harmed you, but because you can't bear discovering their views or defending your own one more time. When politics transforms every relationship into a potential battlefield, you're not protecting your values. You're isolating yourself. If you felt that pre-dinner dread before a family gathering, type "me" in the comments. It helps to see how many of us are dealing with the exact same thing. This next sign is the most dangerous because it often masquerades as staying informed or being a good citizen. But in reality, it's a psychological state that freezes your future in place. If your personal goals feel suspended, you've likely fallen into sign number 4. Sign 4. Helplessness becomes your default. You're caught between two impossible feelings. On one side, I have to do something. I can't just sit here while all this is happening. On the other side, nothing I do matters anyway. I'm just one person. What's the point? Maybe you had a personal goal, starting a side project, getting back into fitness, learning something new. You had plans for yourself, but then you read another article about how unstable everything is, how much could go wrong, and suddenly that personal goal feels absurd. Why bother investing in yourself when the future feels so uncertain? So the goal sits there, frozen. Not abandoned, just suspended indefinitely while you wait for the world to feel stable enough to care about your own life again. Here's something you can do right now. Write down one small, non-political goal for tomorrow. Just one. It doesn't have to be life-changing. Make breakfast, walk for 10 minutes, text a friend. Pick something that belongs entirely to you, something the news can't touch. This isn't ignoring the world. This is future-proofing. You're building the version of yourself that's actually strong enough to help when the dust settles. You can't pour from an empty cup, and right now, you're running on fumes. This paralysis is exhausting. You feel guilty when you focus on personal goals or experience moments of joy, because how can you think about your own life when everything is falling apart? But you also feel powerless to change any of it. So you end up frozen, too anxious to ignore what's happening, too overwhelmed to take meaningful action. You've stopped making plans for the future. Not big plans, just normal things. And when you do experience moments of joy or focus on your own goals, there's this immediate wave of guilt. How can you think about your own life when everything is falling apart? The weight of problems too large for any individual to solve has started crushing your motivation for anything at all. This is what psychologists call learned helplessness. When you've been exposed to stressful situations, you can't control for so long that you stop believing you can control anything. The difference between healthy concern and this kind of helplessness is that healthy concern motivates specific action, while helplessness leaves you stuck, unable to move forward in any direction. We talk a lot about reclaiming your focus on this channel. If you want more strategies for building a life that isn't dictated by the 24-hour news cycle, hit subscribe. Let's get back to the work that actually matters. Sign 5. Your brain won't shut off. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., replaying news stories in your head. Your mind runs through worst-case scenarios on an endless loop. What might happen next month? Next year? What could go wrong that you haven't even thought of yet? You're exhausted, but your brain won't stop. During the day, intrusive thoughts about political events interrupt everything. You're staring at a spreadsheet at work, and suddenly a catastrophic headline from this morning flashes into your mind. You lose your place. You have to reread the same line 3 times, or you're trying to enjoy a hobby, and your mind drifts to worst case scenarios about next year. You're physically present, but mentally, you're somewhere else entirely, trapped in a future disaster that hasn't happened and might never happen. You've lost the ability to be fully present anywhere because part of your attention is always somewhere else, rehearsing catastrophes. Stop for a second. Your brain is rehearsing a disaster that hasn't happened. Read that again. You're spending real energy, real time, real mental capacity on a scenario that exists only in your imagination. That's the loop. This constant what-if thinking actually rewires your brain over time. Remember the tiger from earlier? Your brain couldn't tell the difference between a real threat and a headline. Now it's worse. You're actively training your nervous system to expect disaster. When you repeatedly imagine worst-case scenarios, your brain starts treating those imagined futures as likely outcomes. You're essentially teaching yourself to live in permanent threat mode, which creates a feedback loop. The more you worry, the more your brain finds things to worry about, the more sensitive your threat detection becomes. Finally, there's a cost to political obsession that most people don't realize they're paying until it's too late. It's the slow disappearance of the person you were before the chaos started. To see if you're still in there, you need to look for sign number 6. Sign 6. You've lost your non-political self. When was the last time you did something just for joy? Not as a distraction from the news, not as a guilty pleasure you rushed through while feeling like you should be doing something more important, but genuine engagement with something you love simply because you love it? The hobbies you used to be obsessed with, the TV show you couldn't wait to finish, the recipe you kept trying to perfect, the game you played just because it was fun, have quietly disappeared. Your identity has become so merged with your political positions that you've forgotten the other parts of yourself. The hobbies you used to enjoy feel frivolous now. Small pleasures come with a side of guilt because how can you enjoy anything when so much is wrong? You can't remember what you used to talk about before politics dominated every conversation. The parts of you that existed before this constant chaos. Your curiosity about random topics. Your sense of humor. Your interests that had nothing to do with current events have eroded so gradually you didn't notice them disappearing. This loss of self isn't noble sacrifice. It's depletion. You can't sustain concern for the world when you've abandoned concern for yourself. Conclusion. Reclaiming your mental space. Remember at the start when I asked you to check your jaw? Do it again now. Is it still clenched, or has it softened even slightly? What about those shoulders? Are they still creeping toward your ears, or have they dropped a bit? You've just recognized the physiological hijack. Your nervous system has been treating every political notification like a predator in the woods, but now you know the difference. Protecting your mental health isn't ignoring problems. It's preserving your capacity to actually function and help where you can. You can't think clearly when your body is stuck in constant threat mode. Here's your physical reset. Check your jaw and unclench it. Drop your shoulders. Take one slow breath. 4 counts in, hold for 4. 6 counts out. Notice the difference in your chest. 30 seconds to interrupt the stress response and remind your body that right now, in this moment, you're safe. If you want to go deeper on regulating your nervous system and building real resilience against the chaos, watch the next video. I'll show you how to rewire your response patterns so the headlines stop controlling your physiology. See you there.